What's up, nerds? Welcome to Them Nerds. I am Tony, and that handsome devil on the other side of the screen is Jerry. And we are so happy to be here with you today to talk about the film that you see on both sides of the screen here, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Great movie. Jerry, before I get into a quick rundown of the plot, what did you think of this film? Give it a rating, man. What was it for you?
I give it a solid 9 out of 10.
Yeah, same.
I think that this is like right below Black Panther for me.
Same. Yeah, this jumped into second place for me, and maybe given some rewatching, it might overtake Black Panther, but it was a really solid film. I'm a sucker for martial arts films, and this was superheroes plus martial arts, so I don't know. And we apparently weren't the only ones that loved this film. Thing grossed over $400 million at the box office, even in the midst of a pandemic. You look on Rotten Tomatoes, 92% critic rating, 98% viewer rating. People roundly loved the hell out of this film, and with good reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's run the film down. Starring Simu Liu as Shang-Chi, the titular character. And of course, Aquafina, who has one of the worst names in Hollywood. She's named after bottled water, but she was great in this movie. And of course, Tony Leung as Wen Wu, aka the Mandarin, which he specifically did not like being called the Mandarin, but we'll get into that later. The film follows Shang-Chi, known as Sean, and his friend Katie, played by Aquafina, as they are living the exciting life of valets in San Francisco. And we get a little bit of backstory. We see some, childhood stuff of Sean, aka Shang-Chi, growing up, learning things from his mother, and we kind of go back and forth throughout the film. Things don't go quite so swimmingly during a fateful bus ride, which was one of the coolest action scenes in all of the MCU.
Since Speed.
Right. It was like, it's like they were having a pitch meeting, and we always talk about the hallway fights. It's like someone was like, listen, man, it's a Marvel film. We've got to have a hallway fight. And that one guy in the back of the room had his feet up on the desk, and he was like, what if we did it on a bus? That's what it seemed like. But it was a great scene. What was the dude's name? We've joked so many times about what his actual name was that I forgot it now.
Razor Fist, right?
I think you're right. Arm, sword.
Yeah.
Blade, paw. Yes, Razor Fist, I think, was correct.
This is ironic because he couldn't make his hand into a fist.
No, not a fist there. I mean, you would think that would be an attachment.
Yeah.
You're just got a fist. As long as that one doesn't light up and turn into a laser, I think we're good.
Yeah.
So he's over here chopping the bus in half, knocking out poor unsuspecting old bus drivers. It was a really good fight scene. And all of a sudden, Sean, instead of his valeting skills, displayed kung fu skills. And Katie, of course, is like, what the F, bro? They did a bunch of actiony things, and it was great, right?
Yeah, Marvel brought all the things we love about a good hallway fight into a bus.
Yes. That's one of the things I always really like in martial arts films, and they really did a good job of it here, is when you have a close quarters fight scene and they get really creative with it. How are you going to have these crazy punches and kicks and jumps and flips in these tiny little spots? And they did such a good job. I'm gonna go watch that scene again, in fact.
Yeah, a lot of it reminded me of the fighting skills remind me a lot of the Jackie Chan movies.
Yes, a lot, using the coat,
twisting.
Yeah, it was great. That's a great comparison. So the fight and all the revelation of him being a friggin', martial arts master leads him to decide to take off back to Macau. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Madripoor.
Yeah.
Should have been Madripoor. Anyway, to go and find who?
His sister.
Long lost Sissy. Yes. So he goes back to find his sister, and lo and behold, his sister has a totally normal job, right? No, she runs a fight ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that whole environment, the rickety elevator and all of that. But I thought one of the coolest things was there were a lot of nods to like other like fighting games and movies and stuff. Like, what were some of the ones that we saw? We were talking about it when we were watching it.
I think there was a couple of nods towards Street Fighter, obviously.
That's right.
They also pulled out a lot of the extras from prior Marvel films. Like they had the Extremis, but I'm pretty sure is that Extremis the right one? I might be calling Extremis. I think that's the people who eat people in Walking Dead. But you have those characters in there. I mean, like there was just different little side characters that they pulled out that were actually also fighting in those same areas.
Yeah, there were a lot of like things that you were supposed to just kind of like say, oh, that reminds me of this, and oh, that reminds me of that, or oh, I remember that from Iron Man 3 or whatever. But then we get to the actual fight ring, and we're not supposed to just assume or insinuate. We see two very familiar figures fighting in the ring. And I know this was like, I don't want to say spoiled, but it was shown to us already in like the trailers before we ever saw the film. But to see Wong fighting Abomination was like this super cool kind of out of the blue sort of thing.
In a kind of a nod and a wink to Thor Ragnarok, where you have Thor fighting Hulk, where they have this friendship too. You find out at the very end of the fight that Wong has built this friendship with Abomination, is kind of teaching him how to be less of an abomination, I suppose you can say.
Right. And in a movie filled with cool fight spots, I think one of my favorite ones was when Wong did the portal and made Abomination punch himself.
Yeah.
That was great. So we get Shang-Chi gets in the ring, and his opponent is revealed as
his sister.
His sister. Once again, the sister. And they are fighting, and he's like, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you. But she just keeps beating the piss out of him. And so he decides to go ahead and fight her. And then she knocks him out pretty much.
But so, I believe before she knocks him out, he explains to her that they're coming after their necklaces, which they never really explain the reason why the necklaces are important. I guess they kind of allude to it later on in the film, but they are coming after the necklaces, and then she knocks him out.
Right. Yeah. We learned later on in the film that the two necklaces went in the dragon's eyes, but like, did they know that? Did the kids know that?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Kind of a loose thread that they never really tightened up. But so anyway, we get our first interaction with the 10 Rings organization. They come in and they're trying to attack and get the necklace, as you mentioned. And then we get, Wen Wu is there, and he's, happy to be back reunited with his son, which is kind of an odd way to reunite with your son, is to, physically assault him. But they go off to the compound, family reunion, blah, blah, blah. And we learn that the kid's mother, who we came to understand had passed away, in fact, at least according to Wen Wu, was being held in the mystical village that he infiltrated and wooed her and married her.
Pulled her away from her guardian duties.
Yes, which apparently was all bad. Long story short, the bulk of the end of the film was, this idea that Wen Wu wanted to open this gate because he thought his deceased wife, the love of his life, the one that was keeping him from being a naughty boy, was behind it. But everybody else knew that what was behind it was actually some sort of Lovecraftian soul sucking demon that was trying to break through the portal and get into Earth. So we don't want that.
Yeah.
Right. And so, battle ensues, blah, blah, blah. Big ass dragon.
Yeah. Shang-Chi's knocked into the water, and there he meets his guardian dragon, which is the Great Protector dragon, who comes out of the water like a badass and starts eating these flying demons and is tearing things up. And ultimately, Shang-Chi has to figure out a way to try to stop the soul-eating demon from taking the soul of the Great Protector, which would give it enough power to be able to, unleash hell on the earth.
Yeah. And, I feel like I'm like, kind of like rushing through the film, and I don't mean to, because it was a great film, but like there were I'm realizing now as we're talking about it, there were so many different scenes that had such different settings and such different implications and so many different characters that were involved that like it seems like it was a really long movie, but it wasn't.
I think it was pretty long, wasn't it?
Like 2.5, right? 2.5 hours.
I guess to me that's long, but
Yeah. It felt like, thinking about it, it makes
it went quickly. It didn't feel like it was a 2.5 hour movie.
Right. Yeah, but going back and talking about
it, which is very similar to how Black Panther is. It's like you didn't get, there was no lulls in the movie.
No. And we get this triumphant sort of moment where Wen Wu sacrifices himself to make sure that Shang-Chi does not get attacked by this monster. And then Shang-Chi is in full control of the mystical 10 rings. He does this cool, like, light ball Hadouken thing into the soul sucker's chest and just like rips him apart from the inside out. Him and his sister are riding this thing around like, a martial arts version of the Never Ending Story.
Yeah. Katie, who's had 2 days of archery training, is able to shoot the evil monster out of the sky. And
right. They should probably have her on Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Because, they could probably use her. Clinton and Kate Bishop are over here shooting arrows at things. She could just join in. She's apparently quite good.
Yeah, it's kind of a dying art.
When there are guns that exist, I guess shooting pointy sticks at people is probably not so great. Although these pointy sticks were made of some kind of dragon scale. So,
It was very Game of Thrones.
Yes, it had to be their special arrows.
Yeah.
So, all is well in the world. The mystical village of Ta Lo is protected and their realm gets to stay safe and hidden. And, Shang-Chi and Katie go back to talk to their friends and they're telling them this whole story. And their friends are like, come on, bro, you're trolling us. And then we get kind of the end and the bridge to the greater MCU and to the future of Shang-Chi and this franchise. And we get the portal opening up behind the friends, and we see our familiar friend Wong come through, and he's like, come with me. And he's
want to live.
Yeah, basically. He has now become the new Nick Fury, I guess. He's
maybe he's like the Nick Fury of the Mystic group.
Could be.
Nick Fury's the ground and pound people, and then he could be the Nick Fury of the mystical people. Then you got Val going around picking up the bad people that have powers. So you got all these, lower level Nick Furies going around and picking up the strays.
Right. It's like they're Pokemon trainers, and they're like out here collecting their Pokemon to go fight against each other.
Gotta catch them all.
Shang-Chi, I choose you. So, and that's kind of where the body of the film wraps up. We got 2 post-credit scenes or mid-credit scenes. We've got 2 of the only the noobs leave the theater scenes.
Yeah.
The first was the first one the one with Wong, or the first one the one with the sister?
Wong was the first one.
So tell us about that scene. What did we see?
You see Wong, Shang-Chi, Katie, Captain Marvel, and Bruce talking about the origins of the rings themselves, and they realize that it's a beacon. And like, I've been saying for a while, and obviously not on video, but I've been talking about it for a while, that the rings from Eternals look very similar to the rings from the Shang-Chi. And so I'm wondering if maybe at some point, because in the comic books, and they kind of allude to this, they don't really allude to it actually, how they came to this planet. But in the comic books, an alien race crashes, and that's how they get the rings. Well, obviously the Eternals are similar. They land here, and stay here for, thousands of years. So it's a good possibility that maybe there was some other set of Eternals out there that left these rings behind. And now these ones are leaving a beacon and it's calling to somebody. So everybody's thinking, are we finally getting our, little wink and a nod to Galactus?
Your lips to Feige's ears, my friend. I really want to see Galactus, and it's worth noting. Speaking of the Eternals, the writer or director, one of the people, one of the creative minds behind the Eternals, has been very vocal about saying that Galactus is something that he would like to include in the upcoming Eternals franchise. Which we know we're going to get at least a number 2, and they're talking about it being a trilogy. So, I'd like that very much.
Yeah.
Galactus is one of my very favorite villains, and I would love to see it. But worth noting in that post-credit scene, when you said we got Banner, we didn't have like Professor Hulk, just regular human Banner.
Yep. So somehow he's figured out a way to turn himself back into Bruce again. There was some kind of gadget on his arm, so I'm wondering if maybe that might have been some way that he's able to control his ability to go back and forth. But so maybe we're going to see Bruce and Hulk in the future, not just Professor Hulk.
Right. And I think you mentioned this when we were watching the film. You were like, oh, I wonder if it's like how Wong has this relationship with Abomination, like keeping him like kind of under control. Like maybe he's also doing that with Hulk and like trying to keep Bruce and Hulk like separate. That'd be pretty cool too. And then the second scene, which I assume is going to lead us straight into Shang-Chi Part 2, or perhaps a Disney Plus series, which we talked about. We see Shang-Chi's sister, who is supposed to be dismantling the Ten Rings organization, instead take a seat in Daddy's throne, and here she is at the head of the Ten Rings organization instead.
Which would lead into a great series against Sharon Carter in some kind of Madripoor series where they're fighting for control of the underworld.
Yes, that is that's floating around out there. Jerry put that little bug in my ear, and now that's all I want. I must have it. I have to have it. Galactus and a Ten Rings and Sharon Carter centered story that is in Madripoor. Yes. Because as we mentioned before on this show, having Madripoor in 1 or 2 episodes of a TV show was not good enough.
Yeah.
It was a great set. They should have kept it.
Yeah, they totally should have used it for this one too, in my opinion.
Yeah, instead of Macau, it would have been easy enough to say Madripoor and just
they
already have it. Whatever. Marvel's not listening to us again. Unacceptable. Well, hey, I'll tell you what, as exciting as Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings was, it pales in comparison to the excitement of the announcement of the winner of this Shang-Chi Funko Pop.
That was quite the word salad.
Hey, I tell you what, Jerry, why don't you tell these fine folks out there who has commented, liked, followed, subscribed, and has earned their spot in the random drawing to win this Shang-Chi Funko Pop. Drum roll.
I feel like like the way it was built up is like when I was in school and I'd only read the first 3 paragraphs of a book, but still try to write the whole paper. But no, the winner of this Shang-Chi Funko Pop is Charlie. Congratulations. We want to remind everybody, make sure to keep commenting below on all the videos. It really increases your chances of being able to be a winner. And also on our Instagram and Facebook pages.
Absolutely. And many of these comments have been coming to us from our new, I say our, but really it's Jerry's brainchild and baby, and they are so good. Our Drinking with Them Nerds videos. I am going to give a big shout out and round of applause to my best buddy Jerry, because these videos are dope and they're killing it. The channel people are eating it up, and they're great. Great comic timing, just good stuff, really good stuff. So I think that'll do it for us. Yes, for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I don't know why I did that accent. That was a really weird accent. It was like a I don't know, like a southern grifter kind of, I don't know. Anyway, don't forget to follow us on social media at We Them Nerds. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to be good and be good to each other.
Stay nerdy.
Later, nerds.
Later.